relevant, reliable, and researched. This is Experts on Call, the show focused on delivering leading-edge news and information on today's most beneficial products and services. This is Experts on Call on AM 650.
And welcome back to the program. Jim Perkins is the founder and president of FairTradeWorks. He's in studio. I'm Sterling Fox, and Jim was absolutely just appalled when I told him moments ago I hadn't a clue what a soffit was. And I actually built a house, and the architect said, "So what color would you like your soffits to be, Mr. Fox?" And I had to say, well, what's a soffit?
Right.
Before I even knew what the colors. I'm not that far off the mark when it comes to people who don't know much about construction, about the way the industry works, Jim, and what makes that world go round. The only thing I know is that when it's time to build something, I need a pro.
Right.
And FairTradeWorks is an advocacy organization. I referred to it earlier as a clearinghouse, and in some ways it is, but really from the point of view of the consumer, of the homeowner, the person wanting the work done, you're really their advocate because you package the whole deal up for them with the best skilled people in the marketplace available, and you get them to compete for that consumer or that homeowner's money. And we were talking about the tendering process that you do on every project. Once the consumer is apprised of exactly what the details are, and then you get a look at a kind of a fun, cool, sexy 3D model of what this thing's going to look like with all your new toys. So you really do, finally, in your mind's eye, you're able to see the finished product. Okay, wonderful. Now, how much is it going to cost me?
Right.
So you put this out to tender. You have carefully vetted quite a number of local construction companies. You have all these people on file, and when I brought my project to you already, you've narrowed the list down to maybe 3 or 4 or 5 companies that would be best suited to work on my project.
Right.
So then you let them have a go at the details, and they submit their bids, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I think a great word to use there is compete. Because we do make it very transparent to the homeowner, what they are competing on, and we document it very clearly at the beginning in that scope package. So, yeah, all these trades and companies and construction companies are competing for that job, and that alone, that's the whole model of this, company is creating fairness and a market value. The average homeowner doesn't know how much their project is worth, and typically they may get the old myth is get 3 quotes, and pick the middle one, which always made me laugh because it doesn't make any sense,
But that's the rule of thumb. That's certainly what I've grown up
with. That's what everybody
I've
thinks.
been around a few decades, and that's it. You go out and get a few quotes and take the middle one.
Exactly, and it's ludicrous because it doesn't equate to anything. It's simply 3 numbers, and typically you'll get 3 quotes. One is cat scratched on a piece of paper. One is detailed out with 5 million details you don't understand, and one is a piece of paper with a blank one bottom line, and how could you possibly, compare these quotes? It doesn't equate to anything, nothing's quantified, and it's like pick the middle number, which then again doesn't relate to anything. So again, we scope the package out so the homeowner knows that number that is the final winning bid, which is competed to get the tender, equates to this scope package, so they're getting exactly the scope for exactly this X amount of dollars.
All of the competing companies have been given a completely detailed description of what they're bidding for, and they've costed everything. So that bottom line bid from all of those companies is exactly what they know it's going to cost them to get this job done.
Exactly, and we call it an even playing field. We're trying to create market value, and we're trying to create an even playing field. Even playing field is created by, again, making that scope package so everybody is competing for bidding and tendering on exactly the same job. They all have to put the exact amount of times in. They're all buying their materials from the same local suppliers. They're all pooling from the same labor force, and again, by competing, we're driving a market value. So what I'm trying to do as we drive forward is creating transparency for the homeowner, so they know what a kitchen renovation is worth. They know what a bathroom. When you go to the supermarket, if somebody tried to charge you $25 for a loaf of bread, you'd call the cops. So in construction, and you're playing with huge numbers in construction, they can't $25,000 upcharge in construction because the consumer doesn't can't relate it to anything or really compare it to anything. They just write the check and be like, oh well, I guess it costs that much more, because they're not educated, and simply, why would they educate themselves? Who has that time? They're out living their lives. They're not going to spend hours and hours and hours, getting up to speed, and I said, well, we don't think they should. So that's what we're here for. We're simply to blow the smokescreen off the construction industry and create that true value. And
now, one of the things we as taxpayers have come to become quite familiar with over the years, when we put out tenders for a bridge, a highway, a tunnel, whatever. Somebody wins that bid,
right,
and they're going to bring it in for $1 billion or whatever.
Yep.
And then as taxpayers, we've become very accustomed over the years to, well, that $1 billion we were going to do the bridge for, it's now going to cost this because overruns A, B, C, D. So how do you advocate and get my back as a consumer, so once these tenders are accepted,
yep,
that you don't run into those bloody overruns that really are the death of a lot of bank accounts, to say nothing of construction projects?
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's a common tactic. I don't, maybe I shouldn't call it a tactic, but it's a common practice in construction.
Well, as taxpayers, we feel like it's a tactic when it's done on a massive scale.
On a massive scale, but that downscales down to home construction.
Sure, it does.
Because we've heard the story 1,000 times before. We've talked to your friends. You've seen it in the newspapers. Oh, we were told it was going to cost $50,000. It cost $150,000.
Exactly.
So and the homeowners have been at the mercy of this system for as long as they can remember. So this new system breaks all that down. It's the scope package is there, all the details. If you can't follow the drawings, if you can't run your company to tender on this scope package, then you simply don't know what you're doing. So you need to put an educated tender in to complete that job on time and on budget. And if you can't, then we have some heavy contracts and to protect the homeowner, and we simply eliminate any of that risk. So at the beginning, the homeowner knows exactly what they're getting. They know exactly how much it's going to cost, and they also know exactly how long it's going to take, because we put strict guidelines and timelines in place.
I was about to ask about that, Jim, and thank you for bringing it up too, because again, part of the overruns, and I'm going back to our collective taxpayer experiences again, part of the overrun seems to be, well, we didn't get it done on time.
Right.
It took an extra 6 months or whatever. Right. I'm thinking the Coquihalla Highway is the most recent real nightmare in BC. But again, so this, with the FairTradeWorks approach, there is a defined end to this. It will be built by Labor Day, come hell or high water.
Yep.
That's the approach. And therefore, that protects me in terms of costs, because I now know that the company that has won the bid after competing is going to do it for X dollars and by Y date.
Correct.
And that's firm, right?
It's firm, and again, the contracts stipulate that. And the timelines aren't unrealistic. We're not leveraging against our labor pool. We're working with them, and we put the realistic timelines in place. I have a lot of experience in how long things should take, and I set realistic goals. And as long as they show up every day and do their work and drive their workforce and stay organized, then they can easily be met. And everybody's happy, and it allows the consumer again to plan. They can plan their finances. They can plan when they have to pay. They can plan how long the time scale is going to, how long the project's going to take. And like I said, in a new home construction model, or if we're building for developers, we can set those timelines in place and stick to them, and it allows the developer to really run their business and have a clear plan of, we
would have to think fixed costs or knowledge of costs really makes an enormous difference in planning, doesn't it?
Absolutely, especially in ever-changing real estate markets, where when an overrun of 6 months, 8 months not only costs you money in wasted time and construction costs, but it could cost you $100,000 or $200,000 in a resale value, or all these different things. And the system, that FairTradeWorks system, is we launched into the residential new home construction and renovation market, but we're set up to stepping stone up into large developments, multifamily, and all these things, and that's where we're moving towards. But we needed a starting place and a stepping stone. We need to leverage the contracts and trade, so we decided to launch in the in the in the residential market, but also it was a sector that we think needed our help the most. So that's where we began our.
Well, your timing is particularly good here in a weird sort of way, because housing prices in the most stratospherically priced market on earth have kind of softened lately, and people who were counting on profiteering shamelessly from their homes are just backing off a little bit out of necessity. So people then are going, okay, well, if we like living here, we were planning on making a lot of dough on it, maybe we still will, but okay, let's just spruce up the old joint. We'll stick around for a few more years. And that's what you do when housing prices go soft, because you've still got equity, for goodness sake. So then spend it on yourself. Have some fun. Are you noticing in the marketplace these days, in this particular real estate climate, Jim, that sort of sentiment has started to bubble a little bit?
Certainly. I think people are, again, kind of bored of speculating and moving house and, living their lives with their kids, or, they're going to a local school. So sure, I think people are settling down and saying, you know what, let's just stick for a while. And we're sick of playing the markets, and, it's not worth our time or effort or stress to keep moving around. And right now we're finding a lot of people approaching us to do large renovations on existing properties, and because they know that, again, everybody's competing for their business. It doesn't matter if the market's an upturn, a downturn, real estate prices are high, low, in the middle. Our system always creates a market value. It fluctuates up and down, but they still know, coming to us, using our system, using our resources, that they're going to be left with a fair deal, dollar-wise, but all the upsides that we put on top of that, our customer service, our software, our advisors, our escrow service, all these things that we offer as a package, and there's so much to talk about as a company. They just feel so comfortable, and so many of our clients are already coming back to us for repeat business because the process of construction was liberating for them. We didn't have to worry. We knew what we were in for. You did what you were going to say. You stood up to everything that you were going to say. There was no overruns. There was no overruns in time, no overruns in dollars, and let's do it again. And we found that it's actually stimulated people to do more and more, because people,
once they know they get a fair deal, it suddenly changes your attitude.
And we found that consumers, we're stimulating consumer spending, and even in the female market, where they might be intimidated by the whole process, coming alongside us, they can move forward. They have the vision, they run in the household, all these things, and they move forward with us.
Well, one of the phrases you use on the website a fair bit is, "We've got your back."
Right.
And that's something that you actually, you're proud of this. You advocate on the part of the homeowner.
Yeah, absolutely. They're our clients. We protect them. We are a business. We're out to stay alive and turn a profit. So that our whole business revolves around our clients, and we're out to take care of them and give them everything that we preach that we're going to do. As far as stimulating the trades and the contractors to bring more work to these people, to take all the wasted time and the chasing dead leads out of them. So it's not just one side for the homeowners. There's a huge upsides for the contractors and trades. They're chasing these live bids. It's all spec'd out. They don't have to spend hours and hours working with their clients. They don't have to spend any money on marketing to get more business. We're the hub of construction, and we say we are construction because that's where we're moving for. We're the hub of construction, of sustainability, of the new generation of construction, and new generation of efficiency, new generation of the speed of how buildings are built. Right?
And I want to pick up on some of that new stuff that you're talking about here. And you've also mentioned escrow, and I want to find out a little bit more about where the money goes and how that works.
Right.
Jim Perkins is my guest. Mr. Perkins is the founder and president of FairTradeWorks. We are construction, they say. And you know what? I believe them. I'm Sterling Fox. This is Experts on Call. We'll be right back.
There's still more ahead with Experts on Call, the show focused on delivering relevant and beneficial consumer information. This is Experts on Call on AM 650.